Alrighty, thank you. Again, we're going to be in John chapter 2 today. We're actually going to split John chapter 2 up into 2 weeks. And if you have your book with you, by the way, if you ever forget your book and you need to grab one, we'll have them here available for you each week, so that if you have to grab one to use. The beginning part of chapter 2 for each one, well, maybe I can't turn to where I want to go. Each chapter starts with an introduction, and so I want to read the introduction today. And it says this: we see a shift in chapter 2. Jesus has just gone public with his ministry. His disciples are alongside of him. He attends a large wedding held by a well-known family that is wealthy. It is here that we see Jesus perform his first public and possibly most controversial miracle. Why the controversy? Jesus turned water into wine. It leads to so many questions still to this day. Is it okay to drink wine? Is the wine alcoholic or non-alcoholic? Is Jesus causing others to stumble because he is attending the ceremony, as it is nothing more than a big party? None of these stop Jesus in his public ministry. None of these should stop us either, as this subject takes us away from what is really important and why Jesus came to be with us: love and life. So chapter 2 starts with this miracle, and this is the first miracle. So let's make sure that we cover this so that we understand. Jesus has just gone through and he has just picked his disciples. And so a transition is going to take place now to where the rabbi has his disciples, the teacher has the learners with him. So the rabbi would, and just this is from a cultural thing, the rabbi would start their ministry usually at the age of 30. And then they would go out and pick younger guys based on their level of knowledge and how much they knew. So these young guys had been learning God's word from who knows what age, and the best of the best had gone through, and the top rabbis had gone through and say, I want this guy, okay, I want this guy, and I want this guy, and I want this guy. All the people that were left over that were the ones that were picked last. They were the ones that were up against the wall, and hey, you guys just aren't really good enough, and we've filled our roster, the other teachers have filled their roster, so we're going to move on, and you guys just go back to whatever it is that you do. And so when you find Jesus finding these young men, they have a choice. They've already been, excuse me, they've already been, I'm going to do this real quick. Hold on. So it's ready to go. They've already been picked over. They aren't the best of the best. So when you see them in the boat and they're by themselves, that means they've already learned the family business. So they're probably in their early 20s. If they are in the boat, or if they're whatever it is they're doing when Jesus finds them, and they are with their father, that means they're learning the family business. So they're probably in their late teens, 18, 19 years old. The disciples are going to be from the ages of 18 to 21, 22 in there somewhere overall. The teacher is 30, starting when he starts into teaching them, and so he is kind of the elder statesman, but at the same time, he's the one that they turn to, and he is there to teach them. So he's chosen all of his disciples. They aren't the best of the best. They're the leftovers. They're the ones that just weren't quite good enough. And so the first thing that happens after choosing them, it says this in the Bible, starting in chapter 2 of John. It says, the next day there was a wedding celebration in the village of Cana in Galilee. And we're going to stop right there. So the next day, so after he's chosen the disciples, the next day they're all going to go together to this wedding. And wedding celebrations are big, big things at this time. They could be up to a week. Everybody's invited. It's not like, you send out the invitation, and like nowadays, okay, we have 150 seats, and we set the tables, and Uncle Bob's going to sit here with Aunt Susie, and then I've got to put this one. No, we can't put this one here. We can't put, because they're going to fight and they're going to argue, and let's put them in the back. And if we put them in the back, they're going to be upset. Whatever. Everyone's invited. It just made it easy. So the whole town's invited. Everyone that's, you can have your +1, bring whoever it is that you need to this celebration. And this is where we're going to stop, because this is the would you rather question for the day. The would you rather question is this. Would you rather be able to perform miracles? Would you rather have a friend that you hang out with all the time to be able to perform miracles? I want you to ponder this for a little while before answering the question, and then share why you came up with your answer. So as I pondered this, through the week, the first thing that went through my mind was, it would be so cool if you could just like do miracles, right? Because it'd be kind of a game changer. I mean, if I go to the mailbox and I pull out a bill and that I wasn't expecting, oh, doggone, I really don't have the money to cover this, but I can do miracles. So when I open it up and I see whatever the price is and it's already got the envelope in there, to send it back, I'll just create the cash, put the cash inside of it, put it back in the mailbox. Oh wait, I couldn't put a stamp on it. That's right, I can do miracles. Boom, pop a stamp on that thing, put it back in, and move on with my life. I'm hungry later, and I look around, and I'm like, I'm driving, around, and all I have is a receipt that's sitting in my car, an old receipt that's sitting there. Hey, I'll just change that into a bacon cheeseburger. Boom, bacon cheeseburger, and I can have that to eat. And if you look at it from that standpoint, this is exactly what the devil did to Jesus. Do this, make this perform, change this so that it will serve you. And that's what the world tends to do. And so the more I thought about this as far as the miracles, I'm like, I don't know that I could trust myself if it came to those miracles. Because am I really going out with those miracles to help someone else? Or am I going to go out to help myself? Or maybe I'll make it look like it's going to help others, but really in the end, I'm going to help myself. And then I went to this. Okay, if I can't be the one, let's just say there's just one person that can perform the miracles. What if it gets in this guy's hands? What if this gal, what if this person was the person that all of a sudden could do these miracles? And I don't know that I could trust that person. And that would be kind of scary because, man, it could just turn this whole world around. It would just be a game changer. So instead of that, what about, okay, if I got to choose the person that I would want in life that could do the miracles? And so then it goes to the person in your life that's a person of faith. I could trust that person because they know their Bible, they care for people, they understand what it means to be a disciple, they understand what it means to learn God's Word, they understand what it means to love others and care for them right where they live. I could trust that person to handle the miracles. And so I'd much rather that person do it as opposed to myself doing it, because I don't know that I could fully trust me. But you know what? If I can pick that one other person, that's who I would pick and why. And then all of a sudden there's kind of a peace that's about us, and we're like, you know what? I'm really good with my situation. Now, some of you are still going, yeah, I kind of like that whole thing when you go to your mailbox and the bills are there, and all of a sudden you can make the money and stick it back in, and whenever you're hungry you can make a Baconator or a double cheeseburger, whatever. Those are actually kind of cool, and maybe I wouldn't use it completely for bad, but just kind of selfish a little bit. But we know in the end that the person that we can't trust when it would come to this kind of power, sadly, is probably ourselves. And we can pick someone in our life that we know for sure that we couldn't trust with that kind of power. But it's kind of nice when we can stop long enough to say, there's also someone in my life that I believe that I could trust enough. There is someone in my life that when it comes to their faith, that they live it out before others. When they talk about things, when I can go to them, when I can turn to them, when they can share, and everything they share with me is loving and kind. See, the New Testament can be taken down into two sentences or two different areas, two commandments, if you want to look at it that way. Jesus said to love others as I have loved you. So he gives us the example. And then also to go and make disciples in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. To make disciples in God's name. Because it's more important than what's going on just right here and now, but it's going to be for eternity. And so that takes everything away from all the religion and the tradition and the denominations and the struggles and the good and the bad and all those things. I just have to, at the end of the day, focus upon loving others as Jesus loves others, which means Jesus gave me an example, and when I'm doing this because God has put this in me. I have a desire to help others. I have a desire to feed others. I have a desire to be kind to others. I have a desire sometimes to step up to things that I know are wrong, and I've got to be the one to help others. I have a desire to do good because God allows me to do good, and I can give God that credit. And at the same time, I'm doing so by making disciples in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. I will give God that credit because He has put that in me. He has had that desire of eternity within me. So when it comes to miracles, I don't know where you're at. It would be really cool to make some of these miracles. Like, I guarantee you, if I were to ask Rick, dude, you get to perform, a miracle. What is it, the miracle you'd have? He was like, the Browns would win the Super Bowl every year. Boom, just like that. The Indians next year, they're winning the World Series. They're going to beat the Yankees in seven games. Game 7 is going to go 74 innings. They're going to win it in the bottom of the 74th in an unexpected thing, steal of home, and that's what's going to happen. Then they're going to go on and they're going to sweep the Dodgers just because I want to sweep the Dodgers. Those are some of the miracles that we would want to see within our life, right? But at the end of the day, many times if we had that kind of power, it would be self-serving and it would be about us. So here are the disciples, and they're with Jesus at this wedding celebration, and everybody's at the celebration. The whole town is there. And watch what happens. It says, the next day there was this wedding celebration in the village of Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples were also invited to the celebration. So this is the next day. They've just chosen all the disciples. This is the next day. This is the disciples' first day on the job. And it says, the wine supply ran out during the festivities, so Jesus' mother told him, that him being Jesus, they have no more wine. And at this point, we get to see a step of faith within Jesus. Now, within Mary. I want to point something out. Notice who isn't there. Joseph isn't there. So history tells us that Joseph had passed away. And it only makes sense he had passed away because if everyone is invited, he would be there for this celebration. Everybody shows up to this. Earlier, when they go to find Jesus in the temple, Jesus and Mary traveled together. So Joseph is gone at this point. So the person that Mary would turn to would be her oldest son. Her oldest son is Jesus. The other reason that Jesus would not leave, and this is based on their culture, would not start his ministry until the age of 30 is because by their cultural law, he was bound to his mother until the age of 30. He had to make sure that she was okay, the family was okay, everyone was all right. So now here at this age of 30, that's how it points to his age as to where he's at. They are here still together, and Joseph is not there. So Mary turns to the one person that has been entrusted to her to handle things since her husband isn't able to do so because he's not there. And she turns to Jesus. Now watch how Jesus handles it. She says, they have no more wine. Dear woman, that's not our problem. Jesus replied, my time has not yet come. So if you notice, a lot of people are like, well, Mary ran off and told Jesus, Jesus, do this miracle. Mary didn't stop and ask him to do a miracle. She didn't ask him to turn the water into wine. She just presented a problem and said, okay, Jesus, I know that you're the one that's entrusted to me to step in to handle this. And so when this is taking place, she's not going, hey, this is how I would fix it. This is how I would do the miracle. If I was the miracle worker, I would just handle this. You know what? Hey, don't worry about this. I'm the one that does the miracles, so let's just go ahead and let's put everyone to sleep right now or send everybody home. Let's set the clocks forward 5 hours, tell them it's the end of it, and move on, and no one will even know. We don't know how she would handle it. She trusted. She believed that Jesus was going to do something. And in our lives, when we have struggles, in our lives, when we don't know what the next answer is, do we trust God enough in the answer? But then when the answer is given to us, do we trust that God has worked through it? Because many times what ends up happening is we get an answer, but then it's not quite the answer that we want. So then we try to change the answer, or we try to modify the answer. We try to, let's make the answer a little better. Or we even go back and say, no, God, yeah, I wanted to trust you through this. You didn't really understand when I asked the first time. You didn't really understand when I brought this to you. And so I'm going to go ahead and do things my way. And we end up in even more trouble. We end up with even a bigger struggle. And then the next thing we know, some of the relationships we have struggle, or our finances struggle, or whatever it might be that we go through, we end up with that struggle. Because we take it to God and say, okay, God, you can handle this, but then when He doesn't handle it quite the way that we want, or quite on the time frame that we expected, He's wanting to do a miracle in our life by having us trust Him completely. But then when the answer isn't our answer, we don't see God in it. So she comes to him and she doesn't ask for that miracle. And he says, dear woman, this is a sign of respect. I think it's kind of funny because, I can picture my boys now where they're like, hey, Chandler, Jake, Nate, they ran out of wine. And, my boys probably all handle it differently, but I can hear this at one point going, Mom, what do you want me to do? Nathan, I'm only 20. I don't have a fake ID. Chandler, give me your ID. We'll go buy more wine. What? They don't do that. But we can see our kids doing that, right? Our teenagers doing that. But he isn't going, Ma, come on, are you kidding me? He says this out of respect. He says, dear woman, listen, dear woman, That's not our problem. This is not our problem that's going on here. This is not our wedding celebration. We are the guests. We're the ones that are supposed to come here and to drink and to eat and to be merry. And I'm here with my disciples. It's their first day on the job. This is not my problem. Here's another thing from this. He says this next. He says, my time has not yet come. And if you look within the book, there's a hashtag. Now, this hashtag is also a number sign, so this gives us an actual scientific kind of fact. John 2:4 says this, Jesus said, my hour has not yet come. 9 times in the first 17 chapters, he says, my time has not yet come. 9 times the first 17 chapters in the Gospel of John. If you're struggling in your walk, know this, when you trust God completely, your hour too will come. In other words, in James, when James said, you know, if you seek me, you will find me. It's not an option. If you seek God, if you truly trusted him, he is going to give you an answer. In Jeremiah, way back in Jeremiah, when he preached in what is modern-day Iraq for 40 years and nobody listened, Jesus says, I have a future and a hope for you. And when you pray and when you seek me wholeheartedly, which is with your entire heart, you will find me. God does not want to hide from us. God does not want to say, hey, so I'll be there in the good times and, you know, in the bad times, you know, let's just get back together when it's the good times. It's not an option. When you seek God, he will find you. But your time frame and my time frame may be a little bit different. We have to trust him completely through this. And we never know when it is that he is going to perform a miracle. And when you're in the midst of a struggle, when you're in the midst of dealing with people that don't deal with things the way you do, that don't look at things the way you look at them, that don't say things the way that you say them, they might be a boss, they might be someone that's over you, whatever it might be, and you're feeling pushed down and beat up, where is it that you turn? God is saying this, whenever these struggles come, whenever things like this happen, are you going to trust me enough to turn to me to allow me to perform as only God can perform? But here's the thing, if you're going to trust him, the answer that could come next may not be exactly the answer that you would have. So Mary hasn't asked for a miracle. She has just said this. She's like, there's an issue, there's a way that we can help someone, and the one person that can help is the one person I can turn to. So she says, Jesus, here we go. And he says, my time has not yet come. The next thing he says, but his mother told the servants, do whatever he tells you. So this is the proud mom moment, right? Because see, mom has asked, Mom has explained that there's a problem. Mom has gone through this, so out of respect, her son is going to do something, whatever it might be, and she has no idea what it is. And she hasn't told him, this is how you should handle this. She doesn't know that a miracle is coming. The disciples on their first day of the job, they don't know that a miracle is coming. They just know that mom and son are having an interaction right now, and they're all watching because they're younger guys. They're, well, let's see how he treats his mom as it goes through this. And watch what happens next. Standing nearby were 6 stone water jars used for Jewish ceremonial washing. Each could hold 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus told the servants, fill the jars with water. So these jars are stone jars, so they're not porous at all. So the only thing that's ever been in them is water. That's it. It's the only thing that's allowed. Anything else gets in there, it could mess things up. If you drop juice into it, it could ferment, any of that kind of stuff. So the only thing ever allowed in here was water. Even to be used to the point where it talks about the washing, they didn't go and put their hands inside of it. The water was taken out of the pot, and then you would wash your hands from there. So as you came in, because you come in from the outside, you would wash yourself to make sure that you're clean for the celebration. That would also allow you to get back to the temple later because you were clean. So the only thing ever in these pots was water. That's it. And it was used to wash away any of the dirt, any of the grime, any of that kind of stuff. So there's 6 of them. Jesus told the servants, fill the jars with water. When the jars had been filled, he said, now dip some out and take it to the master of ceremonies. So the servants followed his instructions. The master of ceremonies is the person that's kind of like the wedding planner, overseeing everything. You know, the family's got all this stuff. They've invited everybody in. There's all these things that are taking place, but there's still someone who's overseeing everything. If this family runs out of wine, it is a complete embarrassment and shame to this family. The whole town's there. This is your one chance to have this great celebration. Everybody's a part of this. And now you ran out of wine, and now this dad is going to turn to this master of ceremony and said, you had one job. You had one job. Even if we ran out of food, we could go and kill something and fry it up quick, but with the wine, it takes time to make that. And we've been preparing for how long for this? And you didn't have enough wine, and it brings shame upon this family. So they know we're in trouble now, because now this is going to bring shame. This thing that was a celebration is now going to bring shame on this family. So he says, now dip some out and take it to the master of ceremonies. So the servants followed his instructions. When the master of ceremonies tasted the water that was now wine, not knowing where it had come from, though of course the servants knew, he called the bridegroom over. And he said, a host always serves the best wine first. He said, then when everyone has had a lot of drink, he brings out the less expensive wine, but you have kept the best until now. In other words, hey, you guys, everyone's been kind of drinking, and they've been slowly drinking throughout the night, and they're getting to the point where they're really not paying a whole lot of attention to anything else. Now let's just bring in the cheap stuff. Let's bring in the stuff, and they don't really know the difference, so at this point, let's just go ahead and, the wine's pretty expensive to make it and all that kind of stuff, so, it was $20 a bottle, but later tonight, let's give them the $3 bottle stuff, because the people are going home, they're leaving, they're tired, all that kind of stuff. Bring out the cheap stuff, and we can save a few dollars here, but just make sure that there's enough for everyone. But it was different this time. It was different because the best was saved for last. When everyone has had a lot to drink, that was cool. He brings out the less expensive wine, but you have kept the best until now. And what the people there didn't realize, but the servants did, is that a miracle had taken place. See, if we're believers and we truly believe, we're going to trust God with whatever the answer might be. You can go in and you can defend and you can say things and you could back it up with scripture and all the things that are going on. But the final answer, we're going to trust God enough that God is God through those times. And there may be times where he shows up and only he can do a miracle. But the servants, they can see both sides. See, in the midst of the party, in the midst of the turmoil, in the midst of all the craziness that's taken place, in the midst of the celebration, all that, people are just focused on the celebration. They're just focused on the economy. They're just focused on the stock market blowing up. They're just focused on the executive orders. They don't really know what they say. They're just focused on whatever it is that's going on in their life right now. And many times, because they're so focused on those things, they can't see God within it. And that's why the servants are so important. Because the servants have to be there so that they can trust through that time. And the servants can see both sides. And the servants can recognize when a miracle has taken place. Watch the next verse. This miraculous sign. We'll stop here for a second. See, earlier when I asked you the question, would you want to be the one that could perform miracles, or would you rather have someone else? I know for me, I think I'd be too selfish in the end. I mean, part of me would like to think that I wasn't, but you're feeding your kids, hamburger, and then they all of a sudden bring their friends, and boom, you can change it into ribeyes. That'd be a cool thing to be able to do, right? I'd do that every day, actually. I could eat a ribeye every day. It'd be so cool to do that, but so many times I would be selfish with the things that I want. God's never selfish. When God performs a miracle, when Jesus performed a miracle, he always helped others. In this case, his mom did not ask him to perform the miracle. She just knew that he would help. It's at times, though, that he performed the miracles, but he always chose to help. And that's why we have to trust God and trust whatever his answer might be and believe in the fact that no matter what, he's going to help, because that's the example that Jesus gave. Whenever he healed someone that was blind, that family had been blamed for something they had done wrong, and that's why your child is blind. Can you imagine carrying that with you? When a woman couldn't have a baby, it's something you've done wrong, and that's why you're not fertile, and they have to carry that with them wherever they go. And all of a sudden, boom, they're going to have a child. When the woman that bled for 12 years and had been shunned by everybody, she believed, if I could just touch the garment of Jesus, and Jesus healed her. He was always helping others to the point even of raising some people from the dead. And yet through it all, people could see these signs, and they saw what had taken place, and he did it because he wanted to help others and help others and help others, and they still chose not to believe. And so for some of us, that's where we stop. God, my life has been a train wreck. My struggles are bigger than anybody else's. No one else is feeling the things that I'm feeling. Hey, listen, if you were really here, I would never be anxious. I would never worry. I would never doubt. My finances would be perfect all the time if you were really there and you were really paying attention. And we don't realize it in the midst of the test, in the midst of the struggle, that God's answering the question as we're going through, but we want the water turned to wine right now. We want it today. And he's answering sometimes in essay form. Chapter 1, verse 1, 3, or paragraph 1 as he's going through. And he's answering as we're going along. And all we need to do through that time is to continue to trust and believe and to trust and believe. And then one day, and you can ask that person that you would have in your life, that person that you would trust to do the miracles if it wasn't outside of God, if that one person, you can ask them, tell me how you knew God was in control. Tell me when you first saw God working. Has there ever been a time where you didn't think you could trust God, but you were going to trust God, and then all of a sudden he showed up? Have a conversation with them about that. And you will be amazed at the answers you'll receive. You'll be amazed at how God has answered those. Deanna keeps a prayer journal, and she'll write in it for a while, and then she'll, go on to like the next year, and it'll go from year to year kind of thing. She has pulled prayer journals up that are a decade, 12, 15 years old, and she'll be like, listen to this. And she'll start reading through the prayer journal, and, and it'll be really sweet. It'll be like, my husband's a jerk. Would you have him quit being a... No, I'm just kidding. She doesn't say this. But she goes through and she would share stuff. Hey, this is what's going on, and this is what's happening, and, God, I just want to pray to you about this, and I just want to lay this at your feet and allow you to handle it. And then we'll get to the point where we've even forgotten that she's written it, but she continued to pray about it, and then we'll look back at it like 10 years or 12 years later and go, oh my goodness, look how God worked through that. Look how God is working through that. God can't perform miracles, but only God can perform miracles. And sometimes they're going to happen quickly, and other times it's going to take a while. When I look at the miracle here that happened right away, I think to the disciples. The disciples, it's their first day on the job. And they come home, and their wife's like, hey, how's your first day on the job? And they're like, you're not going to believe what happened. And they share the miracle that took place and how it happened right away, and how Jesus listened to his mom, and how his mom believed that he was going to make it a change of something. She didn't know what he was going to do, but he was going to do something to help others. And they had to make a choice. Do I really want to go back to work tomorrow? That guy kind of freaks me out. I don't know that I can deal with this every day. I don't know that I want to be handling this kind of stuff. You know what? I'm going to put my resume in somewhere else. I'm going to go look for another one. I think I'll just do the family business because it's that much easier. Your life and my life is not about performing miracles. Your life and my life is about being a disciple and then turning that into being an apostle by sharing it. We are there so that we can see when God is working. But when we see that God is working, it's up to us to share that, hey, that can only be God. Hey, I don't know how it happened, but I'll tell you what, I'm thanking God it did. Hey, listen, that was like the strangest thing that ever took place, but that's why I trust God enough and to know that I'm not God. The miracles that took place here wasn't just the water turning into wine. It was 12 disciples on their first day of work who chose to come back for the second day and the third day to see what God was doing. It was a mom that was so proud of her child but knew that he was going to do something and knew that miracles only come from God. It was a celebration of everyone together, and when people walked away from it, very few walked away as far as being believers because they were already part of the party, the celebration, the struggle, whatever it might have gone, and they couldn't see out of anything, or they couldn't see past anything other than that. They couldn't even see God working, but they were going to get a chance to. So in your life, I know that there's a miracle somewhere that you need to see performed. A miracle that you would fix this way and you would handle it this way and you would do it right now. But at the same time, as a believer, this is that time where we've got to trust God enough to be God. And you can ask God for it, and you can ask God specifically about it, but in the end, you've got to trust Him enough that His answer is the right answer. And it's that answer that's going to keep you going day in and day out as His disciple. So right where you sit, if you just bow your heads and close your eyes for a moment. So your life is different than my life. Some of us right now need a miracle. And some of us need it yesterday or today or tomorrow. But we've got to make a decision as to whether or not we're going to trust that God is God. And we're going to stop long enough to say that, Lord, we know that the only one that can perform the miracles is you. But Lord, at the same time, I want to believe that you're working every day. So even if I don't get that answer right away, God, help me to be that light to someone else. Help me to show that hope. Help me to give that kindness. Help me to open my home. Help me to share a message. Help me to reach out to someone who's down. Help me to fill a need, because God, every miracle that Jesus performed was to help someone else. And the more that I help others, and the more that I reach others, and the more I love and I care for others, the more I show them hope. And the more I feel that hope. And the more your peace and your love that passes all understanding, surpasses all understanding, fills me. Lord, as we come to you, God, at this time, I know each person that's here, Lord, it would be so cool if we could perform miracles, but at the same time, at the end of the day, we know that we really couldn't trust ourselves with that. At the end, we'd just be selfish about it. So God, at some point, sometime, we have to make the decision that you have us here for a reason. You love us so much. You love this world so much that you sent your one and only Son. You gave everything. But you not only love the world so much, you love each one of us that's a part of it. And so God, yeah, we'd love to see a miracle. Lord, we'd love to know that's even possible. But if you're in our life, we know that it is. So Lord, wherever the hurt is, wherever the struggle is, God, right now, help us all to just turn that over to you. To realize that the only one that can fix this, the only one that can handle this is you. But Lord, even when the answer comes back and we're not sure of what that answer is, and maybe we don't like what the answer is, that God, at the end of the day, you just call us to trust and believe. And maybe we won't see it Monday or Friday or in 2021 or for years. But God, that when we see that moment, we can go, oh, that, God, can only be you. Lord, bring us the people in our lives that can share your love and share that hope. For those that are believers, God, help us to be that one that can be that light to others, to once again share that love and that hope. Lord, we'll just give you this time. Lord, we love you. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. Would you all please rise? Each week we give a moment of invitation. So I'm just going to ask right where you stand, if you just bow your heads and close your eyes for a moment. The first step that we take to God is a step of faith. And it is a personal one. So that's why I have, if you're a believer right now, I ask that you're praying for someone here who may not be a believer, or online to be praying for that person that you've invited. And they're out there and they're going through some struggles right now. The step of faith is stopping long enough to recognizing God for who He is. It's admitting that I need God in my life. I believe that He sent His one and only Son. Once again, He gave 100% for me. And I want to ask Him into my life as my personal Savior. Sometimes it's just lifting that hand up to reach up to Him. And so if you've never taken that step, and that's a step that you want to take today, would you just reach that hand up to Him? And we'll pray together as a body of believers. Now I want everyone to open their eyes and take a look at me. The definition of a miracle, I looked up the odds, are 1 in a million. Man, there was a 1 in a million chance that was going to happen. 1 in a million. Every day, there are 1 million kids born across the world. 1 million every single day. that makes you 1 in a million. You're a walking, living miracle. What you do with it every day is up to you, and it's up to me. We're going to sing this final verse, and then we'll be dismissed. Thank you. Who wants to hear about a miracle as we close? All right. This is bigger, Rick, than the Browns winning the Super Bowl. You'll see. I hate to embarrass my family at times. Well, no, actually I don't. But there are certain members of my family that I would hate to embarrass but when I think about the miracles, who I would give the power to, my mother-in-law and father-in-law would be two people I would definitely give them the power to do so. And they have been married for 60 straight years. And in this day and age, that's a miracle. So, heading out today, everyone is dismissed. Tony and Nancy are right here if you want to step up and say happy birthday to them. Maybe give them an elbow bump, all right? What's that, Alan? In class have been married 17 years. Hold on. That 60 years seems a little, But you didn't bring your wife with you, but that's okay. We're okay with that. We know that she's at home right now. So, 2 miracles in the same day, and you all are walking miracles. How cool is that? Wish Alan and his wife happy anniversary, happy 70th. Tony and Nancy, happy 60th. Let's be miracles, and let's go show other people the Lord. Thank you.